Okay, welcome to this video. I'm Chris and this is another Synced Stories video. And today we're going to begin fixing two things that we have. We have a balloon tail here that we are going to beautify and make it blue. We're going to refine this sketchy red line into a blue smoother line, and then if we have time we're also going to add the sweat drops around here, which we have. I'm not sure exactly where we we had them here in part 8. Here they are, all of them, and we will fix those also, make them better, but I'm removing those for now so we can concentrate on the balloon tail. And what we will do here also is that we're going to we're going to fold in, or fold in, I guess we could say, the hand here, so we get more folders to look at, so it's easier to locate them later on if we need them. Alright, so now what we have here is 300% scale, and I think that's probably a good magnification. And I'm having a tail R here now, and I'm also and tail R means tail refined, so this signifies the blue line. So refined, and we could in fact also add another folder here, sweat drops, whatever we want to call it, also tentatively part 10, but that may be 11 depending on whether we are quick enough to do everything in this video here. But I was doing this just because we have a clean layer there, so we could reuse this before we start painting on it. And of course we should name it correctly as well here, so we can call it start. And the same with this one here, start. And it's always nice to spell correctly. Swear drops, well, okay, and refined R. Well, let's not put the R there, let's put the R up here, it's better, so we don't have to keep on saying that. Okay, good. So now we are on, let's do a multiply of that, and then we have to do a multiply of that also, so we can, well, just close that for now. So okay, so now I'm going, as usual, I'm having my original Tintin panel here on the left monitor, which you cannot see, and as usual I'm encouraging you to either open your Castafiore Emerald album on page 33, panel A2, It's the second one on the first row, and so you can look at that while you are looking also at my presentation here. Or you could, an even better idea is probably to scan. If you have a scanner, you can scan in your that panel and take it up on your screen simultaneously. So that way you're sort of simulating what my own setup on this end of the video, so to speak. Alright, and before we start, I also want to say, as usual, this is my own working project. It's 987 degrees centigrade, and it's Unlimited Danger Season 1. And this book here is a printed comic book in full color, and it's 40 action-packed pages, and it's a science fiction, action, thriller, adventure, starring Barry Riley, the arrogant but still lovable, in some sense, space captain who's always in trouble and danger, and he's just amazing, I would say. So he's going to run into a lot of drama, a lot of action, a lot of exciting things, and so you can be on the lookout for that in a couple of months. And then we have here on the back cover, we have the whole Season 1 of Unlimited Danger, which comprises 8 volumes. So there are 8 books in the works. Well, only the first one is in the works, but all the rest ones are planned, and they are written. So it's all like a big project, you could say. So 987 degrees centigrade. Okay, alright, so we are back at the balloons, and now I'm going to bring up my original Tintin panel to 300%, and we're going to look at the balloon tail here. And I'm now switching to my Wacom pen here on my simple A5 sized tablet. I have no Cintiq or no, I'm not drawing on the screen, I'm drawing on my cheap tablet, and I find that to be very, very much better than writing on the screen, because now I can sit with my back straight, and I can have my arm resting on the table here, and so it's very, very soothing for both the body and the mind. Okay, so I'm switching to the brush here, and I'm inverting the colors so I get the blue as a foreground color, which is my refine kind of color. So anything that you see that is blue is sort of my second stab at it, and the red is my first attempt to narrow in on Hergé's fantastic lines. His line work is excellent. Okay, and just to double check here that we are on the right layer also, so I don't mess up any other layer, and that seems to be alright. So let's okay, so one thing that I wonder is that actually I think this first section here is too long here. So I'm actually going to move the whole layer up. Well, all right, of course it doesn't work. We have to go down to the red layer. Hand, Tintin, calculus. Where did we do the... Oh, let's just call it tail here so I can find it easier. Tail sketch, the red. Okay. So here it is. Now I'm making a new copy here. And I'm dragging it up here to part, because we are in the part 10. And we can close this one. And then moved. Tail S. Okay, so we can at least mark it here. Since we have an old layer coming in, we can mark them as such. So now I'm selecting this red layer here, and I'm moving it upwards to be able to get this white area. But there is something fishy about this as well, and that is that this white area looks as if it is too far down, but actually it may not have been too far down. I'm restoring it as we had it before, because what I see now is that this white space here in this, well, rectangle, or what we can call it, in this section 1 of this balloon tail is too thin. So when I'm now doing the refined version, I'm starting 20%, thank you. I'm now starting a little above here, and we are also remembering that this is a balloon tail, so we want to keep the balloon the tail thickness this basically the same as the balloon thickness itself. Maybe this angle is also a little bit up there. And we're doing this part here on the right, and I'm using the here on this side I'm using the red as an almost exact template for my new blue. So, but above there, but on the other stroke I did I moved it up to see if this helps, and but maybe here also the angle might be slightly different here. So maybe actually like it should go in a little bit there, but we will first do it here now with the red in the background. Then we will take away the red, and then we will look at it again and correct from there, because I think that's the most practical arrangement. And here is a soft corner. Soft corner, and it goes out a little bit here. Goes out a little bit here, and then it goes in, and then a little bit out here before it turns. That, and we have a little more red, or a little more blue, I should say. That. And then this angle here is a little more back than I already did it. So and the length of this stroke here, in terms of the white right below it, is something like 1.2 line thicknesses or something. 1.2 of this line thickness in this more horizontal direction, but maybe 1.5 of this line thickness, because this stroke is more like the balloon stroke, or maybe not, slightly less than the balloon. Okay, and it's a little, and it seems that the red line here in the background is not too bad, actually. It's a pretty good approximation of the actual line on the original Tintin panel. So I think we did a pretty good job with that one. I think it was part 8 we were struggling with that. Not struggling with, but we were doing and redoing and redoing it, and we were happy doing that. So this is okay. So now it almost looks like it's black, but I hope it's just because we have the red behind there. you can see that there's some difference there. Alright, so now we have outlined. I can take another. Right, so now we remove the red and we will re-examine. And what I can see here is that this white now up here is on the limit in terms of it's too much, so we have to go in here a little bit. That's better, but now we have to get a thinner line here. But that's okay. That's the line there, and on the outside. Okay, so I'm now looking at the shapes. Okay, so let's look at the curvature to the middle of this one. We can say that. Okay, I think that's so one curve here, one curve there, and then the two. So let's look at that critically here. So on the outside here, that curve looks pretty good. Maybe it could go in a little bit here. But it's not too bad. And this line here looks pretty good. Although we perhaps could make it a little different angle there. The angle little different. Okay. And then, but then here, okay, and then in the inside here, we should go back more with on the in here on the inside. If that does the trick. So the illusion here is that, or the impression you get here is that there is that where I'm oh, excuse me, sorry about that. Where I'm at right now with my pointer here, it looks like there's like a waist that, or like a time glass here, like it's going in here a little. So and there it's going in both from the left and from the right. And this angle out here should also be slightly different too. So for this part here, these lines here, these two lines here, as well as these two lines here, are pretty much 90 degrees. And I see also that this a slight fixing here. Okay. And of course there should be this stuff here also, because that seems to be an artifact of Hergé's pen or something, because this doesn't look really perfect, but we'll paint it in anyway, because we want to have we want to learn the lines, and we want to learn how they actually are constructed, and we want to be able to, and I have a hard time seeing how this could be deliberate or something, but we don't, we just replicate, and that's okay. Or it could be that it is an artifact from my scanner, but I don't think so. My scanner is pretty good, so I don't expect it to produce 5 random pixels, or not 5 random pixels, but 5 black pixels in a position where there is no such pixels in the original. So anyway, so okay, and there's also some artifact down here, that there is some extra, seemingly some extra ink, but I'm painting it in something like that. And it sort of goes out a little here also. It's sort of like a mini curve here. Or maybe even it's a little less than that, but it's still curved. More curved, actually. Maybe more like that. And then it sort of goes inwards like that. So it's like a mountain, or with the top in this direction. Right. So maybe after all, this may not be a 90-degree angle here. When I'm looking at it now, it looks maybe more like 95 degrees or something. But you can look at it yourself, but I'm just, oh, whoops, no. I'm adjusting this a little bit here also. Okay. and that looks good. And we have that pointing a little backwards, and this one also should be approximately parallel to this line here. And this should be a little thicker. Okay. And this line looks good, and maybe a little more solid, this one. So this line here to the right at the third portion of this thunderbolt, we should have a slight bend here, a slight curve inwards. At around maybe 1/3 of the bolt. So here, and then sort of little wavy out here at the other third. So that seems to work. So I think actually the only thing is perhaps if we want to add a few pixels here at the very end here to make it more, because in the original it seems it's more pointy here, so simply like that then. Because there is a substantial amount of black when the lines converge here, so it seems like the amount is approximately, the amount of black in the original is approximately the amount of blue I have now here in the sort of when the white arrow here stops, and then we have something like that. Okay, good. So now the question is, I think actually we'll hold there with the tail, and then I'm going to move it upwards as my plan was before. And we are moving it also. Now, let's see, now I'm going back now to the original, and I'm bringing it down to 200%, just in order to be able to re-evaluate the relative distances here between Tintin's hair and Professor Calculus' forehead. are we in the right neighborhood? And so I am at 200% on the original, so I bring this down to 200%, and I think it looks we have to imagine here that his beard or his mustache here is going out a little bit, so because in the original this this very how should I say, this forefront here, this summit of the arrow is it looks like it's closer to the mustache than it is here, but that's just because I believe it's the I haven't made all the small contours of the hair sticking out here, so that's one reason why it looks so. I think that basically is a good measure. What I'm worrying about more is perhaps also a little bit the angle. So I think actually I'm doing another step. I'm going to rotate it a little bit, and by a little bit I mean maybe half a degree or something. I don't know how much that is. Okay, yes, we have a whole layer now. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to just take a, this is what I call the mini rect. So when if I painted on a big layer covering the whole canvas, and I want to rotate, then I usually just cut it out, and then I rotate that instead, and then I remove the old one so I don't get too many layers. So I click V and I do my multiply, and so I want to turn it clockwise. But not that much. Just a teeny weeny. Maybe just that. Or maybe it is good enough. Alright, I have located well, I wonder. It seems to me that there is the line that I want to change the most, if I can express myself that way. Let's make a copy of that. I want to change something in the middle here, in the middle section, and that is the angle here. So it seems that the angle of this line here should start more out here. outwards, and then it should go. So the total shape is that the white is thicker down here than it is up there. But we still have this bump there. So 200%. Yes, it's better. And then, but then we also want so many things, and one of them is that this must be more edgy, less curved. Less curved. Okay. So it's like a needle point or something. I don't know. Is this good enough? Yeah, it doesn't look that bad. But okay, but this is going to have to, here it has to have the same angle here. So okay, so I think that's, but it shouldn't be, it should be rounder still. Right. Yep. And we will also make this up here, we'll make the inner edge of the blue, we'll make it a little more opaque, or well, yeah, darker. Okay, so that's not too bad. So in terms of distances here, then we have how should we measure this? We should measure in terms of, maybe we can measure in terms of the moustache here. So there's slightly less than one moustache here, and then there's .2 moustaches here. Slightly less than one moustache, and then so then this area here is sort of like 30% more over here. So I think that looks pretty convincing. Maybe even I could let's move it to the left one step, even maybe even 2 steps. No, 1 step is enough. or not. So in the original, the distance to the balloon tail is definitely more than the width of his hair. So in the original, the hair goes to here approximately, if I sort of double up here, and that seems to be almost perfect. So, and then, okay, so I think we'll let the balloon tail be there. And this is of course a good situation here now that to talk about the importance of the balloon tail, because the sort of this is also a part of the composition of the panel. And the sort of big thing here is that you have to have the balloon tail drawn or painted. You have to draw the balloon tail first before you do the effects. And I would go one step further. I would say that you would have to have the balloon tail first before you even do the characters. So if I were to do this panel from in my own work, I would all my text would be done, and I would first just complete the balloon and place it into the panel, and then I would, from that placement, I would then start drawing the characters and the hand. Of course, in real life, I do that, but it happens that I sometimes have misplaced the balloon, so then I just copy it and paste it again and rotate it and all these things that we can do in Photoshop. But the idea is that, especially here, when we have so many effects, and then we have the sweat drops also that we have to add, and the thing is that the balloon tail is so big that we just have to place it correctly first, and then we can decide where we want to have the anger lines and the sweat drops. Because this has to be he has to talk. He is talking to his mouth, right? So you have to point to his mouth as closely as possible. But Hergé doesn't really do that here. He's pointing to the moustache more than the mouth, and that is of course deliberate, because you have to place the sweat drops on this side here. So if the angle is too how should I say, too horizontal, if you're doing it more like this, then you come too close to Tintin. But okay, so then the alternative would be that you move Tintin to the right. But if you do that, then you don't have place enough perhaps for the sweat drops, unless you place the sweat drops in a sort of special position. So there's always this kind of, and especially so since the panel itself is so completely dominated by this big panel or big balloon. So I mean, the speech bubble is more than half of the panel height, so that in itself is a big problem, I think. If I wouldn't have done it this, I would never have this much text in any panel. But Hergé had his plan and his, so that's he has his project and I have mine. Okay, good. And once again, I point out here again that his drawings are so magnificent. So he basically can do anything he wants in the rest of the panel, as long as the characters are drawn with this kind of masterful drawing technique. I mean, we can just look at the pictures if we want. I mean, we understand the whole gestures and the body language and the whole, all the anger lines and all the sweat drops and all the expressions on the face and everything is just so nicely done, so you don't need any text. All right, so the balloon tail is done, and so this is good. So then we can do the sweat drops as well, but I'm just going to take a small break and I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, so we're back now with another mini session here within the session, and I'm now going to start on the sweat drops here. But before we do that, we know it's Tintin sweat, so sweat S part 8. Let's make that so, and then see if there is. Remember now in part 8 when we did this, I did these in 4 different layers. So if there's any thing we want to adjust in terms of position, then we can still do that. So we can take a look at that. We can go up in 300 to have it, to see if everything looks good, and I'm doing 300 here on my left monitor as well. I'll see if I can. Okay. So this is pretty good. This is pretty good. This one looks pretty good, and this one looks okay. Position wise, let's see, we have so it's pointing slightly above the ear there, and then the distance to the hand is approximately How big should we say that is? Could that be slightly, if I take that distance between those sweat drops here and I divide it in two, then that should be approximately, so we're not too far off. That sounds reasonable. And the only thing I see here now is that the distance in between these two sweat drops and these two, it almost looks like this distance is shorter. If this distance is shorter or not. Well, I think actually this one here should probably be placed 1 or 2 pixels up. Okay, so let's see if we can. Let's duplicate all of them, and then I keep Alt down and I'm dragging the sweat drops up to create a new layer in the same position, and the question is, which one is it then? V, it's sweat 3 moved. Okay, we want it inside the folder like that. Okay. Right, sweat drops, sweat, or I call this. Okay, so then we are going to move or maybe not. This is difficult to see. This is difficult to see. So maybe they are good. Okay, I think we'll keep them as they are, actually. I think we'll keep them as they are. We'll just leave these here anyway, just in case we find some super idea of how to identify whether they are right or not, but I think for now we just leave them. Okay, and then we begin with our R layer. We are refine layer, the blue layer here, and brush, and 20%. And this, and if you look at the original drawing, you see that it's drawn in a, I mean, it is really minimized in terms of these sweat drops are really minimal. So I'm going to go up to 500 so we can, so I see more how they are done. And we only have in a 1, 2, 3, 4. In this resolution I only have 5 pixels white in the middle layer, and only 1 pixel is actually white, and the others are some grayish variant of that. So okay, so that's one. Now I have to pan over here on my original Tintin panel, and I'm going to pan here too, and brush again. And this one is actually more like like a typical stylized water drop, where we have like a curvature here that's going in here more. Okay, and then the third one, and this is, I think it was the biggest one here out of all. It's elongated more, and it has a thicker contour, thicker line, and it has more white inside. Like that, and then I'm going over again here with my hand and scrolling on the original, and I'm back again here. Also again back to the brush, brush it up. And there's should be less white here, like that. So now I remove the red, and we can continue working our way back now. And we're going to fill in the lines there. And this is of course too thick now, but we must, okay, I have to do 20% white here now, because this is more harder to, and then back again to the blue. To get that feel elongated middle there. Maybe more. More like that, perhaps. It's detail work, all right. Details, details, details. But I think that's very satisfying. It's details. The work is in the details. I mean, that is the work, or that is the challenge. So, okay, so I think we have a reasonable number 4 there, and then back to number 3. We have the blue color here, and this should go almost, well, there's a little bump there, but then it's going less angle than I originally painted it with. So this angle should be more horizontal. Like that. Shaving off half a pixel there, and this actually looks there as if there is more white in it also. So I have to try to replicate that. Not just gray or anything like that, but we have, right, so now I brush it up a little more and we get some shape like that. Which is not half bad. Okay, that's probably, of course we can continue our whole life with this panel. I mean, it's there are always things to be corrected, so but I think this seems reasonable. We try our best, and we give it a few hours, and then to get our best sort of approximation that we can accomplish within a reasonable amount of time, whatever. And there's also something to be said for this that we are learning not just to recognize and to replicate the line quality of Hergé, but we also pick up skills in terms of evaluating proportions, for instance. I mean, proportions is such a important task, or important okay, so we now have another one almost done. Let's see, I just have to take a little white here, and we're going to do something like that. It's almost that shape. And then we go back to the very left here, where we do the last one. We fix it up, and I can see now that it's too thick, and a little length wouldn't hurt either, but a more rounded front there. So maybe a little less on this side as well. Okay. Good. The sweat drops are done. And let's see, we have 1:13 of the video, and what we are going to do while we're at it, because it has some importance, is that we're going to try to fix a better approximation of Tintin's hair. I see now here that the hair is not high enough. I don't understand how we couldn't have seen this before, but it seems that that is the case. But this has some implications for the scale, and so that means that we probably, so let's remeasure things here now. I'm going to let's see, I'm going down to 200% on my original, and I'm going to look at the whole panel here, and I'm doing the same here with on this one here. So what I'm saying is that we have to increase the reason why this doesn't really look good is that this distance, this white rectangle that I'm painting now here, is not high enough. So his hair, the white portion should be expanded upwards, and then we should have these. So the sort of the ending of it here, up here at the very top here, is okay. But because this is so narrow, the height of this rectangle, we can call it, the curve is has a much too little radius, so it should be almost, well, 75% bigger or something. But then if we do that, then his hair will go into the balloon, and that's not what is happening at all in the original. So what's to be done here then? How should we correct? How should we think? I think that we will do the hair first. That we will raise his hair so that it has the right height. So when we compare it to other objects, like his eyebrows and hair, his eyebrows and eyes, we see that the height of the hair is approximately this rectangle here that I'm showing. So it seems as if if our preliminary sort of remodeling here now it seems it works with the scale as well, so that if we do that up here, then we will still be in the same scale as the rest of the face and the head. And then when that is done, then we shrink the scale of Tintin a little bit, so that this line here ends up in approximately the same position, because now in the scale that we have now, his hair will go up here, but we shrink it so that the hair still will be at this point here, because that's where all the sweat drops, we have counted on that. And this may also be the explanation why the sweat drops looked a little, the distances looked very little stranger, because his hair, the scale wasn't perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that, and then we will call this Tintin Refined 2, right? Whoops, something wrong. Tintin Refined 2. and we are in part 10. Okay, and then we'll just start with the last of the last blue, the last refined we did, which was just Tintin R, right? So that, and then we go solo on that by keeping Alt down and clicking on the view to see, okay, yeah, that was the one. And now we just hide the original one down there, so we get that nice cyan blue kind of feel to it. And now I am copying the very tip of the hair, because I want to save that. I think the angles there are excellent and only a minor adjustment there, so I copy that tip of hair or something like that, tip of hair, and then I will move the tip of hair upwards, pressing V on the keyboard, and then we will get the right. So that will not work. We have to so where should we end? It's probably something like that. Or even one more. But it doesn't go too far back either, so we are at the ear, and this line comes before there, and so I'm now thinking of how we are going to, what will happen when we are scaling this down. Let's try with that. So I'm merging these two now into a new layer, and I'm multiplying, and to see if this could work. So let's so I'm doing this at 400% or something, and I'm doing the same here with my original on the left, to see if we can get this angle here correct. So I am selecting this window, and I'm on the blue brush, and I'm going to see if I can sort of make this happen here, to get that nice rounded shape that Tintin is having. So now the diameter of this rounded is much bigger, maybe twice as big. So now it should look better also. and on the outside there should be more, it should be more thick here, which I think contributes to its nice shape here. So it should be just as it is over here. That, so let's see if we can get this right here. Maybe I should remove first and then we add. Okay, and then we should go almost vertically here, and then it should be more than vertical there, sort of like that, but it still should be a little thicker like that, and but maybe not as long here as I've done. Should be a little shorter. Okay, and then we can clean this up down here. We clean it up. So when I'm cleaning up, I usually talk about vacuuming, because that's, but you could say cleaning up if you were talking about your line work, but then vacuuming, I usually reserve the term vacuuming for situations when I have scanned something and I have introduced some speckles of dirt, or there's some other things. Perhaps I've made some notes on my original line drawing on paper with my ink that I also want to remove, and like that. So vacuuming is sort of my own terminology here when I'm preparing something for finalizing a panel. So whatever it is I'm scanning, whether it's hand lettered text, or it's a drawing of the characters, or whether it's a panel frame or a balloon, I always vacuum it before I make my final composite of the panel. Alright, so this now looks much better, I think, and we still, but I think we can get it a little more angle here still. So filling it in. Oh, no, not that one. Okay, so that's better, and now we just have to shrink. So the question is, should we shrink the whole of Tintin, or just the head? So we take a look at how it looks like. And we can, I think we'll do just the head. Because I think the other ones are in. Yeah, okay, so we'll do that. So let's see if we have everything we want on this. Yes. So I am increasing to 200% just to copy his head now with the lasso tool, L on the keyboard. And of course I normally don't use the ordinary lasso tool at all. I only use the polygonal version, which I'm using here. So I have my L shortcut only for this and nothing else, so I don't have multiple L commands for. So, and that is important, because if I have the, let's say if I were to shift, if I'm using my tool and if I would go in here to the in the tool bar and click here on the lasso, I could switch to the normal lasso here. But then if that were the last tool of the lasso tools, the different lasso tools, then if I were to select L on the keyboard, it would, in the default mode, it would shift to that. So but by being sure that L only stands for the polygonal lasso tool, I know that wherever I'm coming from, I will come to the polygonal lasso tool and not to the last selected lasso tool, which could be the ordinary one. So I think that's a very to having unique key shortcuts for your tools is, for your most used tools, is, I think, is very important. Okay, so now I'm copying that and I am naming it head here, and I am smaller now. That's the goal, at least, to see if we can. And now a good idea is that we don't move it at all, we just resize it a little bit so that we come down to the same height as we had before, which was something like that. So if I commit there and I compare with that, I think that's quite okay. Maybe it should be 1 pixel more. Let's just do that. one, whoops, 1 pixel too much there. There, and does it seem okay? And the position to the, well, I think we have to commit first before, otherwise can't really see it. Okay, good. So then there's only, we hide the tip of hair, and we, oh, actually I'll do just quick fix here. We have, I'm painting now on the head, the resized head layer, but that should be alright with white, 100% white, so I'm covering the background, which is, as you can see here, it's this. So I'm just, that way I don't have to correct it after I merge it. So I sort of test my merge already. Okay. I think that is a very reasonable construction. And if I now see at this level, I think that we are pretty well off here. As an approximation, I think this works. So, okay, so now I'm going to go up in 200% again, and I'm going to fix another thing with Tintin here, and that is his left, well, it's his right shoulder, but it's the shoulder to the left when we are seeing him here. So usually when we say right shoulder, it means from the person's own perspective. But here we are looking at Tintin, so it becomes the left shoulder of Tintin as we are looking at him. Right, and now so this could be head smaller, and now we are fixing shoulder thing, left shoulder. We can say now this should be alright. Oh, didn't we merge them? Head smaller. Okay, so we have to merge these first. Okay, and now we are good to go. So let's just check it always keeping Alt key down, clicking on the visibility here. Okay, so we have merged it, and is okay, and we are going to fill that in now in a new layer actually. So I'm going to so this was just merged there, and then we are going to correct him once more again now with it's as I said in one of the previous videos, I'm keeping track of my merged and my non-merged. So whenever I cut out a section here, let's say if I do a head, for instance, here I copied and pasted, I'm sure to have my title of the layer to the very left with that object that I have cut out. So here is just a head, but up here it's Tintin, everything in Tintin, right? So it's the sort of like the merged version where we take we fix an ear, and then we merge it with a Tintin R, the refined Tintin, and this is actually, now that I said it, let's make this Tintin R2 actually here. So here we can, and this should be Tintin merged also here, I guess. Yep, another version of the merged. Okay. And why did that? We made it higher hair. So this is a typical merged. So we have the hair as a part here, and then we flatten it, so to speak, up here into a new layer, into one new, instead of two layers we have one layer with the combined result. Okay, good. So we are up here, so we're fixing we are supposed to be fixing the left shoulder, but now we lost, so we don't need that one, refined one there. Calculus, we need calculus. Alright, here he is. Because I needed that because I wanted to see where that line is hitting the shoulder of Professor Calculus. So now I'm selecting my brush. I have blue 20% on, and I am painting on here, and they are meeting the lines. It's not like there's no space in between. They are intersecting, you could say. And I'm brushing up this shoulder here to make it more straight. but then of course it should be, and up here this looks very bad, so so these lines up here should be thick, but they should be sort of not wavy like this, but the line should have an equal thickness all along here, all into the collar here. And the line thickness here is thicker than at the end. So it's tapering off. So okay, something like that. And so let's reinstate so we want the hand, the refined hand comes there. We have Tintin fixed, we have, and then of course we should fix the angle lines as well, which is I think next, or our next, and not in this video, because there are a few changes there, but at least we did what we should, and actually we exceeded our own expectations, because we actually had time to fix not only the balloon tail and the sweat drops into a refined mode, but we also fixed the shoulder here, which is excellent. And we also did fix the top of the hair of Tintin. I mean, so we were actually pretty productive this time. So next time we will take fixing the angle lines, and then we will start inking. And as a quick reminder, once again, we have 987 degrees centigrade, and you can prepare yourself for the release of this fantastic action-packed science fiction action thriller adventure in full color printed version. So you can check out the website Synced Stories, and there will be some information there pretty soon. Okay, thank you very much for this video, for watching this video, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.